And we're back now with Jamal Simmons, our new CBS News consultant on the Democratic side. Of course, Dan Bartlett, former President Bush's old communications director, handles the Republican side for us here at CBS News. So, Jamal, welcome.
Good morning.
And, well, you heard the discussion here. What do you think about these reports that it looks like Republicans are going to take the House, and while they may not take the Senate, they might come very close? Is that, do Democrats think that's possible?
Of course it's possible, but if you take a look at what's actually happening on the ground, you really don't see that. People have been paying a lot of attention to these national polls. Even if you look at the national polls, Newsweek has one out today that basically has it tied with Democrats, maybe even a little bit ahead. Same thing with Gallup, Politico. There's a bunch of them that have the polls closing. Why is that happening? Because if you look at a state like Ohio, where Governor Strickland's been running behind as much as double digits in Ohio, for 2 months, his opponent was airing ads by himself. Now Rod Strickland is airing his own ads in Ohio, and now as you see, he's down by 4 points. If you look at places like California with Barbara Boxer, she's now ahead of Carly Fiorina. If you look at Washington with Patty Murray, she's now pulling up ahead. So the candidates at the candidate level are now starting to close these races as we get down to the final stretch, and the Democrats have a good field program.
But I mean, here you have Barbara Boxer, a longtime Democrat. You say she's now closing.
Sure.
Patty Murray, she's running for what, her third term out there. Now closing. I mean, just saying that tells you a little bit about what the political atmosphere is out there.
The atmosphere is tough. You know, no one's denied that, and Democrats are probably going to lose seats in this election. But if you take a look at losing the House or losing the Senate, it's very, very tough. I'll give you a couple of districts. Travis Childers in Mississippi, very conservative district. The John Tanner seat or Lincoln Davis in Tennessee, those two seats, pretty conservative. The Republicans aren't really blasting ahead in those races. They're actually holding on. Or even Stephanie Herseth out in South Dakota, her opponent's now caught in a traffic ticket scandal, and so she's kind of having some trouble right now. If you look at these races state by state, Democrats are not in trouble, and I think we're going to have some enthusiasm that everyone's downplaying. You're starting to see that enthusiasm come back a little.
Why is President Obama having the troubles he's having with his base, with the liberal side of the Democratic Party?
You know, it's interesting. I think the president has done some pretty remarkable things. It's hard to argue with. The first Latina on the Supreme Court, the third woman to sit on the Supreme Court at the same time, ending the war in Iraq, health care, financial regulatory reform, all these things. But what you haven't had is kind of a broad-based packaging of the message that really speaks to some of the core issues of what Americans are concerned about. One, obviously, their jobs in the short term, but in the longer term, there's a concern about competitiveness. Americans really are concerned about having a country where their children will do better tomorrow than they're doing today, and they're starting to worry about that. On the other hand, though, you have the Republicans who put out this pledge to America a week or so ago. They talk about competitiveness as being important, but it's 48 pages, 20-something pages of it are pictures and big words. But for 48 pages, they don't even mention the word education. We're 25th out of 30 in math. We're 21st out of 30 when it comes in science. And they don't even mention education, but they do want to take us back to 2008 spending levels. And if they take us back to that, that's a 21% cut in American education for kids. And that's just not going to help us close that gap. And Americans know that.
About a minute left here, Jamal, but quickly, do you think, looking back on it, the president would have been better off he had simply concentrated first on jobs and then moved to some of these other issues like health care? You
know, hindsight is 20/20. I think, you know, health care has been such a dogged thing for Democrats to get done in the last 40 years. There's an opportunity to do a big thing, cover 30 million more people, which will happen. Yes, you look back and you say jobs are clearly important. They should be talking nothing more than about jobs right now. But you know, hindsight is 20/20. I also would have liked him to do campaign or financial regulatory reform earlier after these bonuses hit, because you would have been better off if you had a chance to do that.
All right. Jamal Simmons, welcome to CBS, and we'll be hearing from you along the way.
Thank you for having me.